Hi, so the story I picked was Rosie Revere, Engineer by Andrea Betty and illustrated by David Roberts. So the reason I picked this book, first of all, was because it reminds me of my work and working with children. And I think this is definitely a story that I would read to them, maybe not to the preschool level, but definitely something that I would like to incorporate in an early childhood field. So we're going to go over the book a little bit and then break it down and talk a little bit more about the the author illustrated dynamic duel that we have here. Um, so let me take you to, so here's our cover. And then, like I said, that these two, the author illustrator team actually have worked together in multiple books like Iggy Peck, Architect, Editwist, Scientist, and they've worked up a variety of witty inventions, like they said in the book, um, that honors a multitude of people that have made that have been an impact to history. They're very passionate about what they do, and they're persistent. And so a little bit more. So Andrea is actually, she's obviously a bestseller. So she has a degree in biology and computer science, and she spent many years in computer industries. And now she has turned that passion into writing children's books. And she is from Chicago. David himself helped illustrate all the same books with the team. And so he's from London, where he likes to, design hats when he's not drawing and making these beautiful pictures. So that's just a little bit of a brief history on our author illustrator team. Um, so Rosie's all about becoming inventing things. She comes up with these brilliant ideas. Like, for example, her uncle's a zookeeper and she wants to make him a hat. And so she makes him this wonderful hat that will carry all his snacks. And then, you know, her Uncle Fred kind of just laughs at her. And so she's completely sad and heartbroken and embarrassed by the fact that he laughed at her, even though he did say that he loved it. So she kind of just, you know, puts her dreams away and just never wants to talk about it again. And then her great aunt, Rosie, comes to visit her. I mean, her great aunt Rose comes to visit her, and she finds out that she's kind of like this amazing person who who builds stuff, and maybe she can go back into her dreams of like building and being an engineer. And so they start kind of coming up with stuff, and her great aunt tells her like her dream was to fly. So Rosie cannot like stop thinking about this, and so she comes up with an invention, and she, you know, makes this wonderful craft, which ends up, kind of flopping. And so when her aunt sees it, her great aunt sees it, she laughs, but not because she's completely turned off by this idea, but because of the fact that, you know, she just thinks that this is amazing. And so Rosie automatically thinks that it's because of bad things. So she completely starts just, she's heartbroken. And her great aunt looks at her and tells her, and this is by far one of my favorite quotes, and it's definitely the whole point of the story is that life, you know, might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. So she pretty much told her, like, this is kind of the first step in building something just so amazing that by failing, you've kind of succeeded and you have to keep going. And so they kind of put their two brains together, and then, it's just like sparks fly. So the story, if it doesn't remind you guys a little bit of how history, actually reminds us of World War II, Rosie herself. So she's a very iconic figure for, you know, women empowerment and feminist. And, you know, she's an iconic representation of women working in factories and shipyards. So she kind of just made a giant impact on history. So the fact that they made a child's book kind of showing this representation is just extremely important. And I think it's great to, you know, teach children early on about these ideas that girls can kind of do everything. Yeah, if you put your mind to it, and if you know, are educated and smart, and you try and you don't give up, I think it's a great concept. You know, and you don't necessarily have to be a girl or a boy. You can kind of just go in whatever field that you want. Um, yeah, so it was great that they incorporated history to this. And also, like, this was something that her great aunt said, your brilliant first flip flop was a raging success. She's all, come on, let's get busy and on to the next. So it's kind of just telling her, like, you're gonna fail at times, and you know, the journey is not going to be a quick one, and there's going to be obstacles, but the more you try, the more you will succeed in the long run. So I definitely think that that was just an amazing, it was a great story. And I love that I purchased this book and that now I will hopefully read this to my future students. And I think that they, you know, my author illustrator dual have just some great books for to engage children in, and definitely to incorporate into a classroom setting. So that was my presentation. Hope you enjoyed. Definitely read it. It's a great one.